Welcome, everyone, to another evening for Health Revival Partners. I am blessed and elated to be able to bring to you today R.S. June. We actually were able to interview him yesterday as part of our Mommy Heal Thyself podcast, and we had just so much fun that I felt that I had to bring him to this community to share all of this really valuable information about sovereign health because we understand that health and healing is not simply about taking pills. It's not about the bright, shiny objects. It's not about the 50 million little gadgets and doodads. And it's not about the supplements. It's not about the 50 million drugs. Really and truly, the beginning of health is food. And we go back to the time of Hippocrates with the saying, let food be your medicine and let your medicine be your food. And nothing is more essential to us than our food supply, namely our agriculture and our husbandry, otherwise known as our cows, our cattle, our goats, our chickens, and all of those different things. So I encourage you to write down any questions that you may have as June goes through his presentation and as Jeff jumps in from time to time, because it's incumbent upon us, not RFK, as much as we love him, it's incumbent upon us to protect our food sources. All right, so with that, June, I'm going to pass the baton to you and Jeff.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Michelle. Yeah, we had a really good conversation yesterday. We talked about community building. We talked about human relationships. We talked about how the countryside can heal the city. And that's where I come from. I'm from the city. I'm from North Philadelphia, born and raised between there and Trenton, New Jersey. I like to say that I have no business in agriculture. I did not see a cow up until much later in life. And it was when I met Texas Slim and the Beef Initiative that I started to understand why the places I grew up in were wreaking such havoc on families and on the communities there. Uh, and as a young guy in the city, from the East Coast, from Philly, we are just as passionate about solving the problems of our communities as anybody else. And something that has been removed from our imagination as far as what a potential solution is our shared agricultural heritage. It's something that we all have, no matter where we come from in the world, no matter when we came onto this earth, we all have that shared agricultural heritage. So it's not about the city versus the country. It's not about all the stuff that the mainstream media and stuff like that makes it out to be. This is this is a movement to regenerate not just the soil, the animals, and the humans, but the neighborhoods and communities that go ahead and support these folks. So, with that being said, I'm about to show I think it's about a 4-minute video. It was filmed and edited by myself on part of me and Texas Slim, founder of the Beef Initiative, president of the I'm Texas Slim Foundation. We took a 64-day journey across the country. We barely touched a highway system. We traveled on nothing but back roads. It was exhausting. He basically plucked me out of the ghetto in Philadelphia as an artist and designer and took me on this trip. And it led to the creation of beefmaps.com, which is a simple marker mapping system to help you find your local ranchers. And part of that journey, I think we stopped in about maybe 13 or 14 of the ranches that are on beefmaps.com. And one of those that we stopped at was Dr. Brooke Miller's ranch at Ginger Hill, Angus. Ginger Hill is in Washington, Virginia. It is one of the oldest towns in America. When you see Dr. Brooke, If you don't know him already, he's the past president of the U.S. Cattlemen's Association. He is a senior fellow at the Independent Medical Alliance, and he's a medical doctor as well as a rancher. So one of our stops on this trip was at his ranch, and when you see his face, you're gonna be like, that looks like American history, let me tell you. So let's just get right to it, and this is called the Perfect Bull.
When I was a little boy, I was out here in the pasture and talking with my dad. And he said, "Son, what do you want to do for a living when you grow up?" And I said, "Dad, I want to ranch. I want to raise cattle." And he looked at me in all seriousness and said, "Well, you better find a good job." Ginger Hill is we've always been focused on raising practical cattle that could survive and thrive under grassland conditions. That's so important for our product. We produce an animal that needs to go out into commercial herds. And our cattle are known for going out in these commercial herds and being able to maintain their flesh and their capacity and do what they're supposed to do. I think the diversity within our industry and the differences between the way I do something and the way my neighbor does something or way my friends in North Dakota do something is actually a strength for the breed and for the cattle industry. Welcome you all on behalf of our entire family. Dr. Hagen is basically a world leader in the microbiome of the intestinal tract. If you want me to select it for you, okay. All right. So is that the first one you've ever collected? All right. Man, we are making history here today. I mean, this is environmentally sustainable. This is good for the environment. It's not cows not killing the environment. And when they come out here, they visit a rancher, develop a relationship, see that he lives on this land. He loves his land, and he's definitely not going to do anything to defile this land.
All right. Um, I'm not sure if there were some audio issues there. I got a text message that said there was no music, so apologies for that. I will make sure that I send you guys the link to the video, so you can check it out later if you didn't get the full experience. So, hopefully you were able to hear at least some of it. What we saw there was Dr. Sabine Hazen and Dr. Brooke Miller. Dr. Sabine is a scientist of the microbiome, and what we saw there was her first collection of her revolutionary work in the microbiome of the cow. Uh, and I was talking to Sabine the other day, and I'm not a scientist, right? I'm just an artist, designer. I'm the creative strategist here at the Beef Initiative. And so I'm kind of up here, right? I don't get into the weeds on stuff. I really like to really push the narrative, the scope of the narrative. So, um, what Sabine did there and what we talked about the other day, and this is really just a theory, and I'm from North Philly. If you guys know North Philly, that's where Kensington, Philadelphia is. Kensington is the most heroin trafficked neighborhood in the world on the planet. If you've ever seen videos from there, it's I mean it's hell on earth, right? So What Sabine's work can do, has the potential for, should we choose to explore it, is I believe that there is a connection between the microbiome, your stomach, your gut, mental health, addiction, manufactured addiction, and I believe that the solution to the opioid crisis in America can be found on our ranches with our family farmers. So let's get to the rest of the presentation here. So this is called Reclaiming Health, Food, and Scientific Sovereignty. As the future of agriculture, medicine, and health sovereignty comes under increasing strain, the I'm Texas Slim Foundation and the Beef Initiative is leading the charge to create lasting partnerships between ranchers, scientists, and researchers. Our mission is simple yet vital: connect the wisdom of traditional ranching with cutting-edge science to uncover sustainable solutions for health, agriculture, and self-reliance. The future of agriculture, medicine, and health sovereignty is at risk. The I'm Texas Slim Foundation and the Beef Initiative are building partnerships between ranchers, scientists, and researchers. We have two competing visions in this world right now. We have the One Health framework, which is Bill Gates and the World Health Organization's solution to the pandemics and zoonotic disease, and it's one big control framework. And then we have what we're presenting here, which is the sovereign health framework. The sovereign health framework is decentralized, independent systems for self-sovereign health and food, not reliant on pharmaceutical corporations and multinational chemical corporations to fund research and advertising. The One Health framework is the idea that human, animal, and environmental health are interconnected. I'm sure you guys all know this, but I'll just say it anyway here. Is is a concept that we fundamentally agree with. In fact, those of us working closely with ranchers and local food systems live this reality every day. This is an old idea, right? Any farmer and rancher is going to tell you that there is a connection between animal health, land health, and human health, right? Nothing new there. However, we believe that there are blind spots in the institutional approach to One Health. As practitioners dedicated to human health, it's crucial we consider the downstream implications of how this concept is applied, both for patients and for the future of our food supply. Now, here's where we see alignment. Doctors and ranchers might seem like we come from different worlds, but we both value prevention over intervention. Whether it's metabolic health or soil health, we understand that resilience begins before illness sets in. The One Health approach gets this right in principle. It recognizes that human health cannot be separated from the health of the environment and the animals that sustain us. We share that understanding. But here's where we see the risks. Over-reliance on surveillance and control. The emphasis on surveillance, biosecurity, and intervention can lead to reactionary top-down policies. These often burden rural producers and erode local food systems instead of fostering health from the ground up. Missing the foundation of food sovereignty is another problem. Nutritional health starts with food access and food quality. Yet One Health rarely emphasizes empowering communities to control their food systems. For our patients, especially those navigating chronic disease, the solution often begins in the clinic, not in the clinic, but in the kitchen. We need more attention on strengthening local regenerative food systems, not merely monitoring global threats. And the third one that we see as a problem, or where we see the risk, is standardization risks undermining diversity. In medicine, we understand that individualized care is often superior to standardized protocols. The same applies to agriculture. A one-size-fits-all global framework risks undermining local time-tested practices that are the foundation of both animal and human health. Enter the Miller-Hazen model. In May 2023, this is referring to our video that we watched, Dr. Brooke Miller's Ginger Hill Angus Ranch in Washington, Virginia, the Miller-Hazen model was born. Ranchers, scientists, policymakers, and consumers came together to address the intersection of regenerative agriculture, science, and community revitalization. Dr. Sabine Hazen's pioneering research began here, linking livestock gut health to human well-being and agricultural sustainability. This model transforms ranches into living laboratories, creating opportunities for scientific discovery while restoring self-reliance to our food and health systems. You'll notice that we use that phrase self-reliance a lot, right? On the One Health model, they'll use the term resilience a lot. This is where we are departing from that. This is an American model. Dr. Brooke Miller, Dr. Sabine. The challenges we face today: loss of family farms. The number of U.S. farms has plummeted from 5.4 million in 1950 to 1.89 million in 2023. That's 141,000 family farms gone in 5 years. Guys, we have 67 years left until we lose the last family farm in America. And then say goodbye to all of the research that we'd like to do, because it will all be corporately controlled, all of it. We need to save our farms. The centralization marginalizes independent ranchers, forcing reliance on corporate agriculture and government subsidies. 2, the rise of ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods now make up 70% of the U.S. food supply, driving metabolic disease such as obesity and type 2 diabetes, IBS, and more. Centralized food production prioritizes industrial efficiency over nutrition, eroding the public health and food independence. 3, corporate control over health and agriculture. The top 4 beef processors control 85% of the U.S. market. Guys, when you see a beef in the store, at Whole Foods, at Publix, wherever you shop, and it says product of the USA, that means that it was shipped into the USA and then stamped with product of the USA. 85% of the beef you eat does not come from this country, despite everywhere being cattle country in America. So who's buying it? Well, the highest bidder on the global market. That's who. Why? Because the industry is controlled by 4 corporations. Tyson is one of them. Tyson is owned by Smithfield. Smithfield is owned by China. Hey, if you guys eat pork, I hope you like Chinese pork that comes from high-rise factories, right? Shake your rancher's hand and ask to be educated. Big Pharma and agribusiness, they spend $33 billion annually to control research, public perception, and policy. This monopolization of resources dictates the direction of scientific research, ensuring that solutions serve corporate profits and not community health. We have 67 years left until we lose the last family farm, guys. Let's look at a couple slides here. I don't know if you've ever been to the website, what WTF happened in 1971.com. We went off the gold standard. That's one. Ultra-processed food in grocery stores, 93%. Yummy. Sure does taste good, though, doesn't it? The percentage of the U.S. market controlled by top 4 corporations. This is in every industry here: cottonseed, beef, nitrogen, corn, whatever. They're all controlled by just 4 corporations in each industry, the top 4. At 40% of the market share, abuses are likely. So I think we all know why we're at where we're at. This is the U.S. meat industry, hogs and cows, 85% owned by multinationals. Now, here's a good point here, guys. when you go to your rancher and you go down to the farmer's market and he charges you $27 for a ribeye, and you're like, what the hell? That's so much money for a ribeye. You're ripping me off. That rancher, very, very, very likely, more likely than not, is being squeezed by his processing center. His prices to get his one cow processed. This was last year and a half ago. It cost almost $2,000 just to get one cow processed. So next time you go to your local rancher and you say, that's a whole lot of money you're charging me, he's being squeezed. We're all being squeezed. Pharmaceutical R&D, U.S. healthcare and pharma, digital ad spending, 24.7 billion by 2026. American family farmers have almost $0 for ad spend. They have to compete on social media against algorithms and against censorship. That's where the Beef Initiative and Beef Maps comes in. Our dietary guidelines have been captured. One advisor alone on the USDA Nutritional Guidelines Committee had over 152 different ties to pharmaceutical and big ag. You can't fix this system, guys, right? We have to build something else. The origins of One Health. It's even darker than we think. It goes back to the 1940s and 1950s. The Macy's cybernetic conferences, the Josiah Macy's Foundation. It started out as a technology kind of research group. But after all of their discoveries at the cybernetics conferences, they quickly shifted over to biological and human health. It led to the One Health model. In the 1940s and 50s, we had the Macy's conferences of cybernetics, a system built on Cold War paranoia, centralizing human behavior control through psychological and societal manipulation, mass media, advertising, right? It all grew up out of that. Pop culture. I'm sorry to say, but the 60s was a scam. It led to today's One Health model, applying the same cybernetic control logic to human biology and health, centralized research and big money influence. Bill Gates, the World Health Organization, and Big Pharma fund One Health, ensuring the research aligns with their corporate and globalist profit interests. The very best example of what comes up out of One Health is, of course, Hims and Hers. So simple. A pharmaceutical subscription product brought to you by an unregulated body that doesn't need to be regulated because it's so custom to your experience as a human. If anybody's interested in learning more about the cybernetics conferences, it is a dark road. This is an actual photo from it. The people in this photo, pictured from left to right, neurophysiologists, mathematician, electrical engineers, social scientists, mathematician, psychologists, physiologists, neuropsychiatrists. I mean, the list goes, ecologists, the list goes on and on and on and on. Pretty dark stuff here. The human use of human beings, Norbert Weiner.
Obesity is America's deadliest epidemic. 74% of us are overweight, and obesity leads to 500,000 deaths each year. You just have to stop eating, Jimmy. Something's broken. It's not our bodies, it's the system. Welcome to weight loss in America. A $160 billion industry that feeds our failure. There are medications that work, but the price for profit is not patience. This system wasn't built to help us. It was built to keep us sick and stuck. But not anymore. Hims and Hers offers life-changing weight loss medications. They're affordable, doctor trusted, and formulated in the USA. We get a treatment plan designed by a doctor to fit your body, goals, and lifestyle. You deserve to feel great in your body. This is the future of healthcare. This is Hims and Hers. Join us in the fight for a healthier America.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that is that whole thing could have just been an ad for the beef initiative all the way right up until those pills popped on the screen. And that is the power of advertising. Okay? The ads that we see on TV, they're not just in one ear and out the other, okay? Let's forget about that. This is real stuff. Human beings are not biologically dependent on pharmaceutical products for survival. Pharmaceutical companies are financially dependent on human beings for survival. So let's break free. What we're building the sovereign health paradigm. It's a new health paradigm focused on prevention, metabolic truth, and food as medicine rather than pharmaceutical dependency. We're building a new scientific standard, community-funded, peer-reviewed, and transparent research that serves real health, not industry profits. We're building a new food model. It's rancher direct, it's regenerative, and local. It prioritizes nutrition over corporate efficiency. And we're building all of this partially on a new monetary standard. How do we break free from the subsidies of the federal government? How do we break free from the debt? Well, we have to build this on a new monetary system. It's that simple, right? It doesn't have to be Bitcoin. We can find some use for gold here. We'll do it, right? But in our experience here, we've been building on Bitcoin for about 4 years now. And let me just give you a quick little story about a man named Cole Bolton. He's a rancher, processing center owner, recently sold his processing center, very successful. He built this processing center which processes cows, for meat, for beef. He processed over 400 local ranchers' beefs. And when you go to the hometown meat market that Cole Bolton founded, what you will find is some of the most inexpensive and highest quality beef in the world. It's the best tasting, the best for you, and it is super light on your pocket. Why? Because it's community controlled. Super simple, right? Now, where's Bitcoin coming in all this? Well, Cole was selling beef for Bitcoin because we brought the Bitcoin talk to the table 4 years ago. These ranchers, they're like, I don't know about this Bitcoin stuff. Nah. Cole Bolton's like, all right, fine. These guys want to pay me in Bitcoin. I guess I'll get paid in Bitcoin. Well, he sure got paid in Bitcoin. He sold a heck of a lot of beef for Bitcoin. He is the first American rancher that we know of to earn a full Bitcoin selling beef. Now, Cole, he held on to that Bitcoin. Bitcoin went up and up and up and up. And then he sold that Bitcoin. He didn't sell the Bitcoin. He traded it for more cattle. Okay? You cannot do this with the US dollar. You cannot do this as a farmer and rancher, as a slave to the debt system and to the farm credit. It's impossible. We've got 67 years until the last family farmer is gone. We need to think bigger, differently, and we need to be bold. Now, you can probably see the way I talk, I have a little bit of anger inside of me about all this, right? My mom was a drug addict. She died. So this is very serious to me. And building a new system, a thoroughly built system on an entirely new economic, food, technological, and human relationship rail is key. RFK is not going to save us. He'll help us, but we're going to have to save us. So we got two paths and two futures here. We've got the One Health framework, which is centralized control, synthetic food, and pharmaceutical dependency, hims and hers. Or we have the sovereign health framework, which is decentralized research, independent ranchers, and a self-sovereign health model. Now, the Miller-Hazen model is not just an alternative, it's a blueprint for reclaiming health sovereignty. We are building a future where science and agriculture are in the hands of the people, not global corporations. So, will you choose sovereign health or One Health? Will you choose Miller-Hazen or Monsanto Bayer? Will you choose Texas Slim and the Beef Initiative, or will you choose Bill Gates and the WHO? Choice is yours. And that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, June. I really appreciate your passion. And tell us a little bit more about beef maps, because you spoke about being able to connect with our local ranchers and farmers. And I think a lot of people have the question, well, where do I find them? How do I find them?
Yeah. So I think I'm still sharing my screen here.
Yes, you are.
All right. Well, now I believe there's someone else in the crowd here. Her name is Shannon Ebersol. There she is. I see her. Can we bring Shannon up here?
Come on down, Shannon.
Hi, guys. I am, as June refers to me affectionately, I'm Ranch Mama Shanen. I am a rancher in southern Iowa, and I also have lived a different version of changing my health. And now my passion is to help ranchers connect with consumers. And Beef Maps is the best way to do that, as well as Welcome to Beef. So you can zoom in here and you can take a look at any rancher anywhere. Like if you click on my name there, June, you'll see our ranch pop up and you'll see some of the products that we have to offer. You can see I'm right down there in the very bottom corner of Iowa. And we connect with ranchers all across the country. And you can find a rancher in your neck of the woods, or you can search our featured ranchers at the bottom. All of our featured ranchers at the bottom of this page can ship beef straight to your door. And what we really love doing is helping you get to know ranchers and help you get to know how your food is raised. You can see exactly how we raise our beef, whether we're grass-fed, grass-finished, what breed of cattle we raise. Like I raise Maine and Jew. You saw Legacy Ranch Wagyu there. You saw JZ Meats, they have Angus, and Beck Ranch, they have Angus as well. So it's amazing to be able to connect to a rancher in your area. And if there happens to not be one right now, it's okay. All the people at the bottom of that Beef Maps, we can ship straight to your farm, from our farm to your house. And one of the things that I do on our emails is I teach you how to cook real food. Simple and easy, because you do have a choice. You have a choice to subscribe to a Beef Box subscription or to a Hims and Hers subscription. So anything you want to know about how your beef is raised, I am the gal to go to it. You can always drop me a note there on social media and help you get to know a rancher in your neck of the woods.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon. And one of the things that I was actually talking to our community stewards about today is the fact that we really need to get out of our comfort zones and connect with our farmers as well as our ranchers. I have the luxury of being in a rural community. Every year, we actually have a farm tour where all of the different farmers around us open up their farms and they have educational sessions and things of that nature. In addition to that, as I said, I was talking to our community stewards and I said, a couple of days ago, we had busloads of people organize themselves to go down to the Capitol to advocate for RFK. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we even have busloads of people who want to go to Vegas, right? You know, you may have like a church group or a community group. They all shove themselves into a little bus to go down to Vegas to lose all of their money in a slot machine. What if we took that concept and had busloads of people go to different farms? I mean, come on, you guys. As I said, RFK is not the savior. You and I are the only ones who can save ourselves. And I love what Shanen said about being able to cook real food. I know a lot of us here are all into all kinds of 50 million supplements and the bright, shiny objects and the gadgets and all that kind of good stuff. But really and truly, I don't care what the supplements are. I don't care what the little bright, shiny objects are. Health and healing begins with your food. And there's nothing more essential to life and living than your food supply. Now, for those of you who are vegan, that's all good, but guess what? We also need to know our ranchers because, see, I grew up near farms, and what was gold for us was cow dung. That was the best fertilizer for crops. Forget all of this nitrogen mess that they sell you to 10, 10, 10, or to whatever that stuff that they sell you over at Home Depot or whatever it is. The best fertilizer is cow dung and chicken coop mess. That's why I had my chickens, and I would scrape all of the mess out of their little hutch, and I would mix it up with some other earth. And girl, I had the best cucumbers when I did that. So even if you don't want to eat the cow, we still need the cows because they're part of this beautiful ecosystem. And when we talk about regenerative farming is actually based on understanding the cycle, you know? So the cows produce manure. The manure creates all the little bugs and things of that nature. The chickens go in and they scratch into the cow manure and spread it and they eat the bugs. And so it's all a beautiful cycle of life. So I'm so thrilled. I love your passion, June. I love your passion, Shanen, because that's the passion I have. The passion for us to go back to our cultural heritage of owning our food supply. Right now, it's extremely scary to me what June was saying in terms of the loss of our family farms and the direction that that is going. The fact that 4 companies own 85% of the food production. And what June didn't tell you was that beef that you get, or well, who knows what it is at this point in time, that you get when you go to the store, if you get a 1-pound package of beef, you think to yourself, oh, this is coming from one cow. But what June shared with me is what, June? What did you tell me about that little package of beef? How many cows are in there?
Yeah, so if you go you shop at Publix, ShopRite, wherever HEB, wherever you're at in the world, and you pick up a pack of ground beef from the refrigerated section there, just the grocery store brand, right? You pick that up, it's just 1 pound of beef. And if you test that pack of ground beef for DNA, what you're gonna find is between 60 and 100 different cows. Now, all the vegans out there, absolutely, that's disgusting. And y'all have a very, very, very good reason to be vegan based on those truths, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You're trying to live the very best kind of life you can live, the high ground, right? So, but to understand it a little bit deeper is to know that the animal protein industry has been absolutely captured and corrupted, right? And the reason why we've been pushed into these certain directions is because of that. And the reason why we choose to hold these kind of morals about what we put in our body and what we eat is very much tied to that, right? So as you explore I used to be vegan and stuff like that. Of course, I feel like a lot of people used to be vegan who have come onto the other side. They're just searching for health, right? Um, and it's part part of the end game of the beef initiative is to allow vegans to be vegan, right? But how can they be vegan when their vegetables and fruits are completely devoid of nutrients, right? They're raised on monocropped cultures. The soil is dead. I saw somewhere, somebody else might be able to say if I'm right or wrong, but I saw somewhere you eat you have to eat 8 apples today to get the same amount of nutrients that you got from one apple in 1940. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's scary. Our entire food supply has been depleted. And as I said, part of regenerative farming is recognizing that every animal, every plant contributes to that grand ecosystem. So yesterday, I was actually talking to a master gardener, and I shared with her the fact that I had gotten really good crop of cucumbers one year, but then the next year it was like horrible. And she asked me, she said, "Well, did you plant in the same location?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Ah, that's the problem." And that's exactly the problem that you're alluding to, June, that our soils are depleted from constantly planting the same crop over and over and over in one location. And that actually led to the Dust Bowl several decades before. But now people have transferred that information and they're using fertilizer. And as I have said, fertilizer is horrible when you think about the chemicals that are in there. And it's because we have gotten away from recognizing the interplay between all the different aspects of nature. And we are scared of cow farts. I mean, how ludicrous is it that they have made us afraid of something as integral as actual husbandry? So instead, we want to come up with all of these concoctions to disturb the natural microbiome in the soil. And it's, lordy, lordy. But anyway, I'd love to open it up to questions. Any questions from you guys for Shanen and for June?
And Jeff.
And Jeff. Hey, Jeff, did you want to say something? Jump in.
Thank you. Yes, actually, June and Shannon are right on, and I think that Dr. Gamble, you've got a great point. We have to be advocates for our own health. We can't rely on the pharmaceutical companies. We can't rely on word of mouth or advertising. And I think one of the things that SaveBeef.org does is gives us the ability to interact with each other and learn more about what's going on. And when we look at the initiative itself, and welcome to beef.com and beefmaps.com, it gives you the opportunity to know your rancher, know your cow, shake your rancher's hand. And Shannon can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a single rancher that's located on that website or sells beef locally that wouldn't enjoy having someone come out to talk about their beef with them, because it's like talking about my kids and my grandkids. They're the prize of my life, but so are these ranchers' cattle. They're their farm, they're their livelihood, and they're every single thing that they pour their time and effort into daily. So one of the things that we love to do is put you in touch with the rancher. And that's why these two websites exist, number one. Number two, you're absolutely spot on, Dr. Gamble, when you talk about the microbiome in the soil, because you used to say we are what we eat. Well, we are what we eats. So if our cattle and our chickens and our hogs are eating garbage, we are too. And right now we have an epidemic in this country of poor health, mentally, physically, and it's creating a huge problem that's going to bridle our society going forward into a reliance on big pharma because, hey, there's a pill for everything out there today. If I'm fat, I can be skinny tomorrow. If I'm skinny tomorrow, I can gain weight the next day. There's something I can stir into my milk or a pill I can swallow. But how safe is the pill? How safe is the milk? And it all starts with the ground that we walk on. It was perfect when it was made. We need to return back into looking deeply into exactly what's going on with the crops and exactly what's going on with the herds. I don't have a whole lot more to say, but I do encourage everybody that's listening to educate yourself. Go and join us in the mission. Look at the information. Check out our website at savebeef.org. And you're not going to get better beef than you can get locally. So please check them out. Check out your ranchers. Don't fear food. Reach out, touch those ranchers, and let them educate you and let them share pictures. They're like grandparents. I'm telling you, they love to show you pictures of what they're doing, and they want to tell you about their cattle. And people ask questions. We make these presentations, and people say, well, what about all the vaccinations? And what about all the shots? Ask the ranchers. Sometimes they'll be given shots, but it's only, and sometimes they give vaccinations. But let them dispel the rumors. They will tell you what they're doing because they care about you. So thank you very much for your time. And again, thank you for just having us on here. There's a whole lot of passion involved in what we do. And just in case, we're all volunteers. My paycheck is the same as Shannon's paycheck is the same as June's paycheck. We're here because we care and because we've seen a difference in what nutrient dense produce and proteins have done for my body and what they can do for everybody. So thanks again.
Thank you so very much. And I love the cinematography. I don't know about you guys, but looking at the country and seeing these happy cows, they're not being tortured in all of these horror mills, and you're so right about farmers sharing pictures. I know I share pictures of my chickens. I share pictures of my cucumbers, because we're just so proud of what we've done. But we have questions from Doris and Pan. Jump in.
Well, I will second what you said. I got the name Ranch Mama Shanen because I always sign my email Mama to the Mama Cows at the Eversole Cattle Co. because I do share ranch life stories every single day in my social media. And then once you join our tribe at Welcome to Beef or SaveBeef.org, you'll get to hear those ranch mama stories. And I help other ranch moms and ranch dads share their stories with y'all as far as, like Pam was asking, exactly what do we raise? Here at Eversole Cattle Co., I raise 100% grass-fed beef. We ship our grass-fed beef straight to your door. Everything is born and raised on our ranch. I know where it's been every single day of its life. And, we do give some vaccines. But the vaccines that we give are kind of like polio and tuberculosis vaccines. They pop up from time to time if you're not careful. So we just give the very most needed vaccines. I can honestly say that none of our ranchers on beef maps give any sort of mRNA vaccines to any of their animals. And we make sure that they're all regeneratively raised cattle. We want to make sure that we are improving our soil carbon and our soil microbiome. Everything that lives above the soil is doubled or tripled below the soil. There are as many animals below the soil as there are above the soil. So we want to make sure we take care of all the animals that live above ground and below ground. And what was the other question?
How does a rancher become part of the network? What do they have to do and how much does it cost?
They say hi to me first and foremost, and I get to know you and get to know a little bit about your practices to make sure that you are in the same line as what we are doing and what we all believe in. And then we can get you listed on beef maps. We've got a couple different listings from $25 to $75 to get you on beef maps, and lots of different ways to help connect you with consumers. And I get to do all of those fun things. I love making introductions to eaters and ranchers.
Is your beef considered organic?
Well, organic is a funny word. Organic has a specific USDA definition and specific guidelines you have to follow, whereas grass-fed has absolutely zero definition and zero guidelines that you have to follow. So most all of our food is raised organically, but it doesn't have that organic certification word. Most all of us, I would say, are organic. On our ranch, we don't spray anything My husband does spot spray poison ivy because I am extremely allergic to it. If my cow touches it or my dog touches it, I will blow up like a balloon.
But one of the things I want to emphasize there, Shannon, is to remind people that even the label organic is another scam. And it's a money-making scam to prevent small farmers and ranchers from being able to tap into the market. Because even though
Totally.
these people may be quote unquote organic, it costs a lot of money to go through the hoops and loops to get that particular label stamped on your produce or stamped on your animals. And so this is another way that they have managed to push the small farmer and the rancher out of the system. The same thing in terms of processing, that it costs thousands of dollars for the family farms to be able to process. And they have even gone to the extreme of making it illegal to process your own meats. That's what happened to the Amish up there in Pennsylvania. So it is crazy what is happening. And as I said, it's one thing to talk about RFK and hoping that he's going to be able to jump through all of these hoops. It's another thing for us to recognize that the power in this system comes from the grassroots. It comes from you, everyone who's listening to my voice. You are the power in this system. You pay for things and you vote with your dollars. You can decide not to pay your money going to all of these other locations and say, you know what? I'm going to take a drive into the country, a little 30-minute drive, a little 45-minute drive. Hey, I need the fresh air. And go and meet your farmers, meet the ranchers, have those conversations. And June, I think you told us a little story about how you, after your conversations, you get what, like $8 a pound beef or something like that?
Wow.
Hey, don't tell anybody. Whoops. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, you could get $8 a pound ribeyes all day long. If you go deep into the countryside, you go find that farm store, and that farm store doesn't have any employees at it, but it's got a cash register and it's wide open and there's tons of money in there. And you're just like, where am I at right now? And why is the beef so cheap? And why do they just trust everyone in the community with all of the money at the farm store? This is what happens when you reconnect to agriculture. I get I get my beef from the Mennonites down here in Florida. And you know what? I eat mostly if you guys know beef, most beef is Angus, black Angus beef. Maybe it's a beef master, right? Big cows. Most of the beef that I eat is from a Jersey cow, which is insane because Jersey cows are typically just for milk, right? Oh, the Mennonites really know how to raise a Jersey beef, let me tell you. Um, I wanted to, there's one more a very, 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 very important team member down here in the crowd. Her name is Brianna Sagdal, and she's got a beautiful picture there of her smiling with her golden hair. Um,
And Brianna, if you can speak a little bit to the scandals as it pertains to the processing industry.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's such a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Gamble. I love your enthusiasm and your depth of knowledge is impressive. You've very much impressed me with the amount of information that you have on our industry. It's really exciting. It's invigorating. Anyway, so just as of 2021, JBS, which is a Brazilian-owned company, was caught in a price fixing scheme. And what's so interesting about this? This is part of the poultry processors lawsuit against JBS. Let's see. OIG Fong was made aware of this, right? She was the one who was just relieved of office and forcibly removed from her desk after she refused to quit. But she was made aware of this through whistleblower complaints and through multiple rancher complaints, poultry producer complaints. Tom Vilsack, the former USDA secretary, was tasked with investigating, he and Fong were tasked with investigating this price fixing scheme, as the price fixing scheme related to the tournament system and consolidation of processing. And Tom Vilsack turned around and told Congress that JBS was just too big to regulate and too big to remove from the tournament system and from government procurement contracts. So too big to fail, essentially. Not only that, but then, Vilsack's USDA moved ahead of the courts to essentially redefine a 100-year-old law in the books called the Packers and Stockyard Act. And they have effectively used the administrative rule change process to turn a 103-year-old antitrust law into a quote unquote consumer protection law. The issue with this is that the Packers and Stockyard Act was initially created by Congress when 5 multinational corporations monopolized the Packers and Stockyards within our industry. Now it's down to 4. See how well government intervention works, right? Anyways, so in changing an antitrust law to a consumer protection law, the test for violation was expanded to essentially anything down the supply chain, up or down the supply chain, that could potentially increase the cost of food for consumers. The problem with that is it doesn't take into consideration quality. So if, for example, a Packer or a stockyard were to purchase, a better fed cow or much better raised poultry or hogs, for example, they could be penalized and shut down if that results in higher costs to consumers. So this is a problem with jumping ahead of the courts, and they did this in a means of, or essentially in an effort to change the law so that JBS would no longer be in violation of that law. So this is the kind of, these are the kind of scandals that we witness within the industry. This is the type of sort of, economic oppression or what we call economic fascism that exist within the livestock and really within the entire agricultural industry, because there are a handful that are selected based on ideological alignment and then protected from regulatory burden, whereas those regulatory burdens apply heavily to the rest of us in the industry, and specifically family farms. So there are multiple scandals to to bring up and address, but really, so I'm the senior writer and research fellow for the I Am Texas Slim Foundation. And my role is really policy. Policy is my wheelhouse, and reviewing all of the regulatory rule changes through the USDA, the FDA, FSIS, for example, and then working with not only our national partners, which would now be people such as RFK and Brooke Rollins and the Trump administration, but then also our states. And we've had some really incredible successes this legislative session, and most recently here in South Dakota. So anyways, if anyone has any questions for me related to policy, I'd be happy to answer those.
Doris and Pam? You can unmute yourself.
My question was already answered. I was going to ask about the organic portions of and what organic meant in this industry, but she explained it very well, and I really appreciate it.
Pam?
Yeah, Shannon answered a lot of my questions when she spoke, and I grew up on a farm, still know a few farmers, even though I live in a metropolitan area. And yes, to the organic aspect of lots of record keeping and expense. I have a long time grower friend, comes to farmers market with her mainly vegetables, but some fruits too. And she's certified organic for a lot of years. And about 5 years ago, she's like, this is a lot of hassle and a lot of expense. She's, would be considered small scale. And then the second thing I wanted to second what Brianna just said about Tom Vilsack. I live here in Iowa, and knowing some farmers, smaller farmers here, everybody's hugely disappointed when Vilsack went to the USDA in terms of not supporting small family farms.
I want to encourage everyone, even those of you who are in the metropolitan areas, to really go to beefmaps.com, because as June said, you may not realize it, but you may be as close as 30 or 45 minutes away from a ranch or from a farm. You just never know. It's not that far out of the city.
So I have a question. So is this only for beef, or do you also have a network of farmers that you can get chicken and turkey and lamb and all of these different things as well?
We are developing that network as we go.
Okay, great.
Then the next big network that we're adding is bison, that will have a much more diverse onto the map. But if you look on, if you click on Beck Ranch, they offer some chicken as well that's pasture raised. So does Browsey Acres over in California. And like I said, everybody who's linked across the bottom, they can ship straight to your door no matter where you live. Okay, so if you're not able to travel outside the city, like she was recommending, you can know your rancher and you can get fed by your rancher virtually. We have a much larger virtual community nowadays, like all of us here on this group. We love to get to know you better, whether it's in person, face to face, from you visiting the ranch, or from our virtual meetups. And June has an amazing stream of virtual meetups that are going to start happening over the next couple months. And we've got a lot of introductions and tours on our emails after you go through Welcome to Beef.
Awesome. Great presentation. Really.
Doris, do you have any other questions?
Yes, I do, Doris.
Go ahead, Doris.
Where do I get these? I live in New Jersey, so where am I going to find these Jersey cows? And I also signed up for the newsletter, so when will I get it?
Go to beefmaps.com and you can put in your zip code and you can find which ranches are near you. And then also, like she said, at the bottom of beefmaps.com are ranchers that actually ship to you.
Yeah, okay. And then if you go, so if we have a couple websites, hey guys, we're working on just having one website. So if anybody is interested in helping the American ranchers acquire beef.com, please help us acquire beef.com, because then we could get rid of all these websites that we have. So the one website that you're going to go to hear all the stories and to get exclusive beef deals and to hear directly from Ranch Mama Shanen is up on the screen. I don't know if you're still seeing my screen share, but it says welcome to beef.com. So that's going to be your entry point. You're going to drop your email in at the top, submit it, and Ranch Mama Shanen will follow up with you shortly and start telling you all of the amazing tales from the ranches. And I think one of the first emails you'll get is from Ranch Mama's ranch. And oh my gosh, her stories are just the best. So
they're just crazy ranch life. They're what actually happens.
Very good.
Where does the newsletter come from? I signed up for it and didn't get it.
It takes about a day, and you'll start through the process there, and it just comes from me in our email system.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Is Dr. Harshfield here to land the plane?
Don't think so.
Okay, well, I'm going to pass it on to you, Dr. Carter.
No, it was just an amazing presentation there, and definitely, yeah, with the Bill Gateses of the world who are trying to buy up all the land and turn it into, a
bug farms,
manufactured protein desert. Yeah, we definitely need to save our farmers. It's pretty discouraging what's happening out there, and people need to be aware. So So you guys need to be on bigger platforms. You need to be on the high wire, Dell Big Tree, because Joe Rogan, all of these much more robust platforms that can really get the word out.
Well, if
Yeah.
anyone has connections to any of those, please contact June so that they can get this word out to a bigger platform, as Dr. Carter is saying.
Well, Dr. Lewis and I have pretty decent contact with Dell. So just send that information over to him, and then we can get it to his guy that kind of screens all this stuff. But yeah, that shouldn't be difficult to get onto the high wire.
Yes,
That's what I was about to
been
say. If this is an invitation, we'll take it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So this would be super awesome. I'm excited to see you guys grow and expand and start to include the chickens and all the other stuff and the eggs. And well, at this point, if there are going to be any chickens left after they finish with all their slaughtering, but that's another issue, huh?
It's bad, yeah. And I like to just say, we're the beef initiative. We lead with beef, right? And Dr. Gamble, you said it yourself, the vegans, they can't be healthy vegans without the cow, without the manure, right? So this is why we lead with beef. But first is beef, then it's chickens, then it's hogs, then it's the vegetables, and then it's everything else. But first, start with beef. And we have something that we like to say around here, and it's regarding the food, right? Start your day with beef. All right? Begin your day with beef. Eggs are great too, but you start your day with beef, and you're going to see how much differently your day unfolds. You're going to see that once you continue down that path of eating beef for breakfast, a couple weeks later, you're going to be like, I'm not desiring things. It's a very subtle thing, but you're like, I'm not desiring anymore. I don't have the need to go snack. I don't have the need to go do this and that because your body is satiated, right? The nutrient density of that beef makes you just human again, not this desiring machine that these corporations want us to be.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to ask a question on behalf of Dr. Thomas, Dr. Lewis, who's not here. Oh, Lord have mercy, help me. Do you guys also provide organ meats and bones for those of us who make bone broth?
Yes, most all of us do. We've got some healing bone broth bundles. And then like Beck Ranch has an amazing ancestral blend of ground beef that adds in heart and liver. I believe hers is at 30%. Believe it or not, when we get our beef processed at processors, the USDA labeling in order to be able to ship beef is very, very difficult to get those organs included in ground beef.
So do you have to like label it as pet food or something like that to get it out?
Nope, she got special labeling done in order to label it as ancestral blend. I've been working on my ancestral blend for about 8 months now. So I can sell organ meats by themselves, but I can't sell it as a blend.
What about the actual bones?
Yep, we can sell the individual bones. On our ranch, I save knuckle bones, marrow bones, and neck bones because I like a good combination when I make my beef broth. And I teach people how to make broth really simply as well.
Oh, yeah, we have a recipe from Dr. Lewis on how to make broth. But Shanen, I'm going to talk with you later because I definitely want to explore having you help us do a program on making food, ancestral food, because Lord knows.
May I ask one more question?
Yes, Doris.
I have to say that I'm not a beef eater. And I'm not a beef eater because I hear it stays in your body at least 3 or 4 days and it's hard to digest and so forth and so on. Now I'm hearing this Texas Slim say, start your morning with beef. Now, how the contrast is so different.
Well, first and foremost, and I actually spoke to June about this during our interview that I did with him. We have to recognize that we're talking about quality meat. That's first and foremost. as
Okay.
opposed to the junk meat that we get in the store and God knows what's blended into them and God knows what the animal ate and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. And then the other part of it is to recognize that you can utilize beef in different ways. So you can put it into your broths, into your soups and things of that nature, and to recognize that you don't need to consume big swaths of meat. In fact, traditionally speaking, meats
Three
have been
ounces.
consumed in small portions, not these huge swaths of meat that overwhelms the system. And then the other thing to consider is that some people do have a lower level of what we refer to as hydrochloric acid, HCl, and therefore it makes it difficult for them to break down their proteins. But that doesn't mean that you cannot eat beef. It just means that you have to recognize that you need to increase your hydrochloric acid production, and you can do that in a variety of ways, from taking it pure as a supplement, HCl, or incorporating digestive bitters into your diet. And in reality, when you're not able to consume beef, that is actually a warning signal that your HCl levels are too low. And unfortunately, a lot of people have become vegetarian or vegan because their HCl levels were low and they were having an adverse reaction to the meat. And so they figured, oh, well, I'll just take it out of my diet, not recognizing that there's certain key nutrients that you can only get optimally from meats that you can't optimize from a plant source. And so what's important is that you increase your HCl production, not just so that you can consume these proteins, but also because your HCl is the first level of immune protection, so that when bugs and other critters come into your system, if you don't have sufficient HCl production, you make yourself more vulnerable to the possibility of having chronic infections fester in your being.
Thank you. I appreciate the way you explained that.
And Doris, I wanted to add one other idea. I do much better with my beef if I eat it in the first half of the day and I'm not eating it with supper, or it's a teeny amount at supper. I can't eat much late in the evening.
No,
And
we
to
eat our big
also,
meal at lunch.
Yeah,
and to
try it
also
at lunch and see if you do better. I did, but just an idea. Thank you.
and to also
No, thank you.
incorporate food combining rules, which means that you do not combine your meats with your carbohydrates, because they require different aspects of the digestive system, and they get digested at different rates. So a lot of times when people have that difficulty, what I suggest is that you eat your beef or your meat or your chicken or whatever it is separate, or you can have it with salad. So you can combine with the salad, but do not combine it with carbohydrates. So don't combine it with fries and potatoes, which is the classic American way of doing things.
Can I just add one thing to that, Dr. Gamble?
Sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly or briefly draw your attention back to June's presentation, and in which he outlines how the nutritional guidelines have essentially been hijacked by special interests. And so when you ask, why have we sort of heard in the last, 5 to 10 years that it's unhealthy to consume red meat, for example, I would say, to draw your attention back to the fact that the nutritional guidelines have really been hijacked by special interest, and they've been allowed to be written by Pepsi and Unilever and individuals with multiple conflicts of interest tied to pharmaceutical industries. Thanks.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And for anyone looking to learn more about these conflicts of interest and why the US dietary guidelines are so backwards, literally, invert it, okay? Whatever you've learned, flip it upside down, because that's what the truth is. That's where health is. And the reason for that is because one advisor alone of the USDA guidelines has 152 ties to the pharmaceutical and big ag. So, of course, they're going to push us into the direction of their profit margin, right? Who needs healthy humans when you've got all these pharmaceutical drugs? So,
Exactly.
And it ties also back to something that I saw on the High Wire where he talks about fiat foods, fake foods that have basically, we have warped our perception of foods to be processed nonsense. I can't even call them foods. I call them consumables, actually, because they're not nourishing us. And so, we start our day with cereal, which is like one of the worst things that you could ever start your day with. And that is because, as June said, the entire system has been co-opted. Please note, I am not saying that you should not be vegetarian. I am not saying that you should not be vegan. What I am saying is that I encourage you to start to think about, where did these ideas come from? And do they actually optimize your system? I can't tell you if it will optimize your system. I can't. All I can tell you is that you need to experiment on you and put aside all of the propaganda that you've heard from both sides of the aisle. Consider me to be propaganda, and to go out and investigate for yourself. How does your body respond when you eat optimal beef, not junk that's over at Costco or Walmart or whatever, because it's the same thing if I were talking about the vegetable system. If it was sprayed with toxins and things of that nature, like a strawberry, I wouldn't say consume this pesticide-laden strawberry and tell me how it affects your body. No, that wouldn't be a fair thing to do. I would say go find a nice organic strawberry that was grown in your local area and see how your body responds to that. And the same thing when it comes to any part of the food chain, whether it be meat or chicken or fish or cucumbers or legumes, whatever it is, your body will let you know what is the optimal source of nutrition that it's requiring.
Absolutely. Oh, one thing I just realized, introduce them to Zen Honeycutt, head of Moms Across America. She was just on the High Wire this past Thursday. And of course, she's very close with RFK as well.
And with
so you can get on Children's Health Defense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All righty. Let's see. Well,
Dr. Carter, who did you say introduced them to? I'm going to write that down.
Zen Honeycutt. She's head of Moms Across America. She started.
Okay. Oh, yes. Thing. Yes, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, with the glyphosate contamination and, staring down at Monsanto and getting them to actually, say that, yes, glyphosate is a problem. So, yeah.
And what I say to everyone, everywhere, vote with your dollars. Do not think that these corporations they don't care about petitions, trust me. But they do care about the bottom line, which is dollars and cents. Look what happened with Budweiser. That should tell you everything. If it was just about people having little marches and doing little petitions, Budweiser would not have budged. But what happened is that their bottom line was affected because people stopped buying Budweiser. And that is what made the difference. Not the petitions, not all of that stuff, but the fact that people said, you know what? I am not going to participate in that system any longer. We have Brennan Fields.
And on that note, Dr. Gamble, when you vote with your fork, it makes all the difference in the world to your rancher. It makes a huge impact. We literally celebrate every time someone votes with their fork. I can't tell you how many times a day I get so excited when I get to send boxes out to people. I literally dance in the pasture, and there's social proof.
And I tell people that that's another thing that I spoke to June about, that we haven't even entered into this conversation. The energetics behind the food. There's a difference when a cow is growing up in the pastures and nursing her young and things of that nature. And that moment of slaughter is just a moment. It's not hours of being terrorized and racked up in a shack and all of those things. And then when the rancher or the farmer puts that meat together or puts that food basket together, puts that harvest together for you, it's coming from their heart.
Yes.
And I truly believe that there is a difference. I mean, if we ever get to the point where we could actually measure the love that goes into something, it's just like when there's a difference when your mama makes you some food as opposed to you going out to a restaurant and somebody else who doesn't, you don't know what they're doing. They could be hacking and spitting in your food for all you know. So that being said, there is just a love that is transmitted from the farmer, from the rancher, to the animals, to the fruit, to the produce, and into your home, that nothing can replace that energetic nurturing that is infused into the food that is now shared with you. We have
Thank
Brennan.
you for saying that. Oh my goodness.
Love the positivity. It's so great to see. Thanks for taking my question. Texas Slim, I am actually in Florida, and so I am intrigued by your Mennonite beef supplier. Can you share who that is?
I can share that privately.
Sure.
If you know the Mennonites, you would know that they don't like to be bothered. They really don't like to be bothered. In fact, I wonder if I have it right here. I have a brochure that says, "We're the Mennonites. Leave us alone."
Oh my goodness,
Yes,
how
they're not
Wasn't
on
it?
the map. Is that what you're
They're
telling you?
Oh, no, no, no. Ooh, no, no. We have to respect privacy for sure. Yeah, no, we don't put them on the
Uh,
map. But yeah, why don't you check out Jersey Acre Farms?
okay. Mum's the
Jersey
word.
Acre Farm.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you.
They're on the Gulf Coast here. That's where I'm at. And by the way,
Right.
I have Texas Slim's Media here as my name. I'm from Philly. I'm no Texas Slim here, but I walk the walk a little bit. Texas Slim is my co-founder at the Beef Initiative and Texas Slim Inc. He's the president of the I Am Texas Slim Foundation, and he's the one who started all of this here for us. And we're just taking it to the next level with him. Mhm.
Great. Thank you so
I'm
much. Great
hearing
to
Is
see
June your
people.
last name or your first name?
June's just my nickname. The internet's a crazy place. And I just, you know what? I respect here. I'm like a Mennonite, all right? But you don't have to leave me alone. But yeah, I go by RS June on the internet. If you know me personally, I'd be happy to share my name with you.
June, I was wondering,
Okay.
what about the idea of investing in a cow? You know, the way that people invest in, say, gold or whatever. So it's
Mhm.
like taking stock, and then as the cow grows up, your investment kind of multiplies until you get the dividend when the cow is slaughtered. I don't know, I'm
We
crazy.
do that.
Shannon.
We we do. We just introduced herd shares. We've been working on it. I've been working on it since September to get everyone else on board. You can visit the Beef Initiative, and after you go to Welcome to Beef, you'll get those emails. And herd shares is what we're talking about right now. Exactly that. Buying a quarter or a half. I teach you all the details. What are you going to get when you get a half a cow? How much room does a half a cow take? All these things are what we get to talk about together.
And I
Wow.
believe Shannon, I hope Shannon doesn't slap me after this if I'm wrong, but I do believe here that quarter cows come with a free freezer.
Yeah, I'm being
Yeah.
crazy right now because I want to help people learn to do exactly what you talked about, is to buy a half a cow or a quarter cow. And so right now I am giving you the freezer to put it in when you buy a half a cow or a quarter cow from Eversoul Cattle Co.
Okay, now I'm going to be even more crazy. So do you get like baby pictures and then updates as the cow gets older?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
I don't identify the individual animals, but if you follow me on social media at Eversoul Cattle Co., literally every day I'm out with my cows. You will see pictures. Like tonight, I've been gone all day, and before I came home, I stopped to the house. I stopped in the pasture to check my cows.
I know. They're your little babies or your big
They
babies.
Well, hold
they
on.
are.
Hold on. Hey, June, can you bring up Know Your Cow?
yes.
Thank you, Brianna. Yes, that is a great way to start learning.
Well, I just went to Everso Cattle Co. and it didn't come up.
The half cow free freezer didn't come up.
No, you said go to Everso Cattle Co.
Yep. On
and it didn't come
I'm
up.
okay.
Can you put the link in the chat, Shannon?
Yep.
Oh,
I will
thank you.
drop it there.
Yeah, and if you go to beefmaps.com, down here at the bottom bar is Ebersole Cattle Co.
Oh, I'm already on that site. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yup. And then here, right down there at the bottom, we've got half a beef deposit with a free freezer and a quarter beef deposit with the free freezer.
Hmm.
My
Wow.
husband thought I had gone insane.
That would take me years to eat a half
No
a quarter of
worries.
a,
That's why we do the small boxes too. Because
Yeah.
my grandma was just like you. She said, I can't eat a quarter cow anymore. How are we going to do this?
But that's where community comes in. Call up your sisters, call up your mama, your grandmama, your aunties, your nieces. You don't have to do it alone. Make it a community event or a family affair. Get a family half a cow or something.
Also, if you go and you check out knowyourcow.org, right, June?
Yep.
.org?
Yep.
Okay. So we've created a PSA, and it's in there. It's all about owning your own cow. So we encourage everybody to get to know their cow, and this is part of shaking your rancher's hand. But part of knowing your cow is taking ownership. And what the herd share agreement is you're actually buying a share of the live animal. And then once it goes to processing, you're notified. You pay the rancher separately and you pay the locker separately. And so we have a PSA kind of breaking that down, what that looks like, what you can expect, what to anticipate in terms of weight and cost, and how that all works within the confines of the law. So the herd share is a sort of loophole, and essentially any animal that belongs to you is illegal to eat. It's legal to send to processing. It's legal to eat. So this is kind of like our carve out in the industry, if you will. And we highly encourage everybody to understand that process better, because it will also help guide your questions, and what you're asking your local rancher. So as opposed to asking, hey, how much do you sell per pound? Because not all ranchers have access to USDA certified processing facilities. You can ask, what is your average weight per cow? What is your average hanging weight per box weight? Things of that nature, so that you can get a better idea of what your cost for a quarter share or a half of a cow might end up being, and what that'll look like on the out, when it comes out, because you're going to lose a little bit of weight to viscosity. That's like bone density, fluid, etc., right? So it'll give you a really good idea in that PSA, and then also empower you to take ownership of your own food supply. And this is really cool. This is the part that we get really excited about as ranchers and consumer advocates. When you buy your cow, what you get in that box of beef, what you get in that hamburger, that pound of hamburger, is just that one cow. You're not having to consider like, wow, am I dealing with, 65 to 100 different cows in this 1 pound of beef because it's gone through one of the 5 nationwide processing facilities that does our domestic cattle supply at 5,400 head per day? If you're buying a hog, you're not having to wonder how many pigs are in this one package of bacon because, our hog industry is doing 1,200 head per hour. So you're getting one cow, one box. You have full control over the entire chain of command, and you are taking control of your own food supply chain, which is absolutely invaluable during these times of, market shocks and uncertainty and international volatility in the market supply, in the food supply.
And
That's
apparently their secret code, you guys, is Ranch Mama. That is the secret code for those of you who are ready to get that half or quarter cow rather.
Yeah, you'll get that quarter pound off of that quarter pound for sure. And the website that Brianna was just referencing, which is on the screen right now, that is knowyourcow.org. And if you sign up there, that is going to be your direct connection to Brianna and and all the amazing work that she's doing in policy and beyond. So all of those different I know we're asking you guys to drop your email everywhere, but they all go to different places and it helps to really help educate you on the full picture here. So the 3 main websites for everyone to go to is welcometobeef.com, so you can hear from Ranch Mama. You're going to go to savebeef.org, so you can help us fight against Bill Gates and the World Health Organization, and maybe help us acquire beef.com. The third one you're going to go to is knowyourcow.org, and that's where you're going to learn about transparency, learn about sourcing, and learn about how you can get involved in a lot of the policy action that Brianna is leading the way on. So welcome to beef.com, savebeef.org, and knowyourcow.org.
Fantastic. Well, you guys and gals, thank you so much for a phenomenal presentation tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the High Wire or one of those other huge platforms.
It'd be amazing.
All righty, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed this.
Oh, thank you so much, Doris. I appreciate you.
Thank you, all you presenters. Great info.
You're
Yes, thank you so much.
I hope you guys can answer the question, where's the beef?
We know now.
All right,
helping
then.
us with that.
It's not at Mickey D's or Burger King, that's for sure.
You're right about that.
Okay, everyone. Good night.
All right.
Good night, all.